Hello and welcome back to String Zero. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after this guy got caught by Tarov, who in who basically showed him that what he was doing was very, very bad. Well, not bad. It was very dumb. That he really doesn't know who he's messing with. Like, oh yeah, this is a Secretary of Defense here. Let me just, eavesdrop on him while he's having an important conversation with my father about what could probably be espionage and, their dalliances, their their relationship. Um, Also met two other characters aside from Tarov. We met his son, whose name is Darek, I think. Um, who seems to be going along with his father's whatever it is he has going on, but at the same time, he also seems to be very displeased about having to do it, about how his father goes about doing things and stuff. Like, yeah, I'll support you, but I'm not going to be happy about it. We also, at the beginning, met Jiv, who is this sort of bull-looking character, who, along with Uriel, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing her name wrong, we're kind of trying to tell this guy, like, hey, don't just go to be a jazz runner just because, it's fun, and I get to be with, I forgot the tiger's name already, but because they kind of know him already, so they know how impulsive this guy is. I'm talking about the main character, and Uriel, on her own end, knows how kind of flirty and flighty the other one is. So it's like, you know, don't just do it because, like, ooh, it's gonna be fun, and because I'm gonna be with this guy. It's like, they're kind of warning him in their own way. But anyway, so also, we're about to meet Crown, who this dude believes is the other guy's contact. So yeah. Anyways, so I guess without further ado, let us continue String Zero. Crown? Sitting in front of a large vanity mirror is a tall, beautifully antlered man with long ears and lean body. He's dressed in a dark suit, elaborate circuitry branching all up and down the left side of the blazer, like some sort of electric tree. I take it the posturing is over? His voice is deeper than I expected and smooth, like any rough edges have been intentionally sanded off so that the sound can slide right through you. He also hides his accent well, and though I can tell that he's not native and definitely not from Shradhaswar, I can't place it. He glances over his shoulder, and his placid expression darkens immediately. Tarov? The large wolf sees himself in and closes the door. He regards Crown with the same smile as before. Crown regards him with daggers. Get out. He turns back to the mirror, carefully rubbing oil or lacquer or something onto the branches of his antler. Pick up the warm corpse of my muse as you go. Settle down. I'm simply here to introduce the son of the proprietor. I know who he is. Did you also know he's a fan? Well, let's not. Tarov places a finger close to my lips. I consider biting it. Tell him to grab a sock or something. I really must insist you play nice. There is a sharp edge to his voice. Crown seems to hear it too, flicking his ears towards me in the mirror. They narrow. What do you want? That is a very good question. How in all dark cyber sorcery am I supposed to do this with Tarov in the room? Well, I've never met a jazz singer before, and I was talking with Nightlight about how the fuck kind of kid name is Nightlight. Crap. Could this not be the right guy? Cal, it's just a hot dogger name. Heike. You don't need to be shitty about it. I make things for punks, runners, cyber jockeys, you know? They all have names like that. No shit. What's yours? Gearling? He walks 2 fingers condescendingly across the side of the vanity. What? No, that's a stupid Is it? Sounds like you. He checks his nails. Wannabe gearhead, grumpy kid, barely a man, obviously clueless as to who he's getting involved with. He looks coldly at Tarolf's reflection. If you can't at least figure that much out, I've got nothing more to say. Fuck you, man. What is he even going on about? Don't be insulting. I'm certain he knows exactly who he's getting involved with. Gearling? Grumpy kid? He sounds just like... Hey, Grumplin. Oh. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. Oh, I'm gonna kill him. That right, Ravy? Tarolf pats my shoulder. Huh? Oh, right, yeah. I frown. I may have overheard something about Tarolf's rules. I carefully flex my bruised hand. Which, I look between the two of them. Civility isn't a rule. I like to think of it as a courtesy. He lifts his hands. Crown does not. The singer finally spins his chair to stare the wolf down. Really, Tarolf? Now with the kid? He jabs a finger at me. Don't be so dramatic. I scratch the back of my head and turn to Crown. Well, if civility isn't a rule, isn't Tarolf your patron or something? He seems like the kind of guy to have bad attitudes like yours dumped out in the white. Crown stares at me, like, full on, are you insane? Tarolf barely laughs, his rough tone filling the room. I would never. No, you like to personally deal with your problems. He makes a violent swiping motion with his fingers. The more challenging, the better. I like to keep my job interesting. Besides, what kind of military leader would I be if I delegated everything? I must set a good example after all. Example. Crown motions with finger quotes. Just call it what it is to you, a game. Easy prey is boring prey. And might I say that you're acting especially challenging right now? Crown looks disgusted and then turns to me. Get the fuck on with it. Just... Yikes. I'm pretty sure he's the right guy now, with Kavir babbling about that stupid-ass pet name. But Crown is hard to read. I just wanted to know more about what you can do, you know? See if I can learn something that I might apply to my tech? Something for jazz running? A meaningful look passes between us when he quickly dismisses with a frustrated huff. Fine. He looks hard at me again and then swirls back around, opening a drawer in the vanity and retrieving a small box. He tosses it at me sideways. Wear those at my last performance tonight. I catch it, sliding off the top. It looks like a pair of earplugs. The jackstack pulls back his sleeve and checks a platinum, jazzed-out timepiece. 3 hours. Thanks, but I don't need these. I know all about you being a singer. I made a special equipment for staff to avoid being affected by stuff like that. Just wear the damn plugs, kid. I swallow the desire to snap back. Tarolf glances over my shoulder. Ah, yes. Allure jazz dampeners. Kimerain? Military grade. I guess he really doesn't trust your tech. But to be fair, when he goes all out at the finale, you'll need those. It's quite impressive, really. For the, I spin a circle around my temple. Narcotic effects? That heavy paw pats my shoulder, affirmatively. I really wish he'd stop touching me. Glad to hear you're not a complete idiot. We can talk again after you see what I can do. Until then, get out. Tarolf closes the door behind us once he's ushered me back out into the hallway. So, everything you hoped he'd be? Bit of an ass. The big man chuckles. An understatement. But to answer your earlier question, yes, I am his patron, and yes, I do indulge his attitude. No one else would put up with him. But I see his talent, so I've invested in him. Much as I do with your father. And now you. How is extorting me an investment? I am a pragmatic opportunist. Is it extortion, or is it a calculated venture to see what you're capable of? I honestly didn't expect him to just admit it. I fold my arms and look away. It's definitely extortion. Maybe it's both. Opportunity rarely comes without risk, so I mitigate the risk. After all, reality is a harsh mistress, and it's best to deal with her open-eyed, surrounded by a collection of partners and tools. You can choose to be the former, or you can be made into the latter. I'm tired of lectures, and especially the touching as he pats my shoulder again. Think hard about which you'd prefer. He lifts his hand, but then pauses, plucking the mint sprig from my hair and tossing it aside. I hope you enjoy the performance, pup. He turns and walks down the hallway, back towards the main club. Tsk. Bitch. An indicator from my display suddenly flickers into view. A message from Dad. Give me 10 minutes. I sigh. I can't wait to get back to my room. I bend over to pick up the little sprig of mint, the leaves drooping a little, but their aroma is still strong. I hear you, Minty. It's been a long-ass day, but we'll make it. I stand and replace the sprig in my hair, keying the personal code into the security door. Just beyond the door is a large living area attached to a spacious kitchen. There's usually just the three of us here, but every now and again, some of the other workers and performers will crash for the night. There's certainly enough space for everybody between the various couches and guest rooms. Jiv's the most frequent visitor, as he likes to keep the kitchen stocked with his cooking. I don't know where he learned to cook in all his years of being a badass, but bless him. I pass under some draping silk and mosaic lanterns hung from the ceiling, just like the ones suspended outside. Handcrafted tapestries decorate the walls. Dad's not a Luddite, but he does prefer his decorations to have a human touch, and human stories attached to them in a way he insists holographic displays don't. I can hear him and Darek chatting down the guest hallway opposite of my room. Awesome. I almost forgot Tarolf's son would be staying here. I consider eavesdropping more, but the pain in my hand convinces me not to. Better to just announce myself this time. I slide my injured hand into a pocket. He probably doesn't know about Tarolf's meeting with me. I want to keep it that way. Hopefully the wolves can't smell bruises. Have a luxury room prepared for you, of course. Simple accommodations will be fine. Dad raises his eyebrows. You're certain? I was a detective until not so long ago, and a soldier before that. I prefer simple, luxury as a distraction. He offers Dad a pointed look. Especially here. Is that so? An odd choice for your status? Your father has tastes I don't share. Something about that comment warms Dad's smile, which also happens to be when he notices me. Sounds like someone else we know. Ah, Ravy, welcome home. His tone is affectionate, as if we didn't just have a yelling match earlier. I regard him coolly. He continues smiling, resting a hand against my arm. At least his touching I mind less than Tarolf's. Ravy, this is Alodamarak. He's going to be spending some time with us. Alodamarak? Ravy, my son. I pretend to be surprised, head scratching with a good hand. In Alo? Here? Why? For how long? Darek nods politely. Darek is fine, and yes, I do apologize for the imposition, but it can't be helped. I am afraid that I can't say more than that. As for the timing, that depends entirely on your father's arrangements with mine. I look back and forth between the pair, pretending to be confused. Your father? That happened to be the big wolf that I saw on the way in? Fancy clothing, authoritative aura, giving an on-the-prowl vibes. Dad shoots me a look between smiles. Teeth? I gesture to my mouth. Secretary Alorastrolf. Yes. A complicated... He sniffs. Demanding man. His nose moves again as his brow dips, suddenly looking me over, then to Dad, and then back to me. Who does have the good of the city at heart. Shit, I didn't consider that he might smell tower off on me. I need to change the direction of this conversation fast. I glance at Dad. He shakes his head. Sensitive subject? Good. I clear my throat. Just the city? Dad discreetly steps on my foot. I swallow a yelp. But it seems that I have the desired effect. Darek falters, losing the scent. He then looks back, glancing between us, cheerlessly. Your son's implication isn't wrong, Mr. Aaron. Please don't indulge him. The wolf shakes his head, uttering a single and arid chuckle. Indulgence is a good word. We both know my father's appetites. He glances at me. But before you attempt to manipulate my disapproval, Mr. Aaron, allow me to be explicit. Darek, I wouldn't dream. The wolf holds up his hand. Every action made by the secretary furthers his personal goals. The ascension of the Alo family and the prosperity of New Leos. So, despite our occasional disagreements regarding his methods, he looks at me curiously again. It is my duty to support him. Please don't think otherwise. Dad maintains a smile, nodding. Of course. Darek definitely suspects something, which means that I need to keep him off balance. And something's bothering me, something Tarolf said. The secretary, huh? Are you supporting him as his son or as his partner? The wolf eyes me suspiciously. Stupid Ravy, maybe don't paraphrase the big wolf to his son. Ravy, please. Just thinking of us. I pivot quickly, thumbing towards Dad. I help, but I wouldn't call us partners. You contribute quite a bit to the functioning of this establishment, but I do try to keep you distant from the tedious details of administration. Distant, indeed. You tell me squat. I know you prefer more cerebral and exciting pastimes. I roll my eyes. Darek glances between us again, his expression relaxing. I see. He rubs his chin, still considering me, but more thoughtfully. An improvement, I guess. I'll take it. I serve the city and its people. I also believe in my father's mission. The wolf drops his hand. Now enough about him. Said hand rests against his stomach as he bows. For better or for worse, I am now your tenant for the foreseeable future. I will do my best not to interrupt your normal routine. Furthermore, as mentioned earlier, I am happy to perform any small tasks in exchange for the lodging. Aaron claps his hands together. Well, isn't that splendid? The wolf straightens up his posture. Provided you fulfill your end of the arrangement, Mr. Aaron. His eyes narrow. And give me no reason to detain you? Of course. Oh. I nab his arm. Excuse us. I quickly pull Dad some distance aside and whisper harshly. Dad, please. He's still an Alo, an agent at that, not a house servant. Exactly so. He squeezes my shoulder reassuringly. Do you not see the prestige and opportunity of having the scion of such an illustrious family working with us? What? No. I see the danger. Aren't lawmen like him suspicious by nature? What if he gains access to our security network, huh? It's bad enough that he probably knows that I meant Tarolf. And more importantly, I peek over my shoulder and lower my voice further. What about me? Dad waves me off. Of course I'm aware, Ravy. But you must also be aware by now of the blurry distinction between risks and opportunities. Opportunities, notably, that I can capitalize on to protect our family. He pats my hand and I grimace, feeling echoes of Tarov. So, you're putting me at risk to keep me safe? You must learn to become comfortable with complexity, Ravy. Paradox. Absolutes are a fantasy. But we can talk more about this later. You'll be fine as long as you rein in your more impulsive tendencies. Besides, both Jiv and Uriel can keep a closer eye on him this way. Darek clears his throat. We both look at him. I grunt. Fine. But you're explaining it to Yuri. Naturally. I'll stop by your room after I see Darek settled in. Releasing my shoulder, he steps back towards the wolfman, who has been waiting patiently. I get the impression that he does that a lot. Right this way, Darek. Let me show you to one of the rooms that we keep furnished precisely for this occasion. If only that were a lie. We always have a room ready for Dad to impress visiting VIPs. Darek will hate it. Oh, the liberating protocol. I tap my ear device and pull up the video feed again. All I hear is static. Did the function choke or something? No. As I zoom in on the audio spectrogram, I can see the function worked. It's the populated audio itself that's been garbled. Well, except for one tiny bit. Finder. That's it? I'll have to troubleshoot it later. My nerves are shot. I turn around and step over some elaborate rug on my way to the hallway mirrored across the living space. My room's at the very end. There is a faint aid box bolted to the wall at the entrance to the hallway. I open it to grab a tube of some analgesic gel from my hand. The bruising still hurts. Hopefully, neither of them notice it. Application takes just a few seconds while I walk to my door and wave my good hand in front of the motion sensor. With a groan, I launch myself onto the bed and shove my face into a nest of pillows. I don't even care that my boots and cargo pants are grimy and my hand is slick with gel. I toss the tube onto the floor. It's not a large space since my workshop is elsewhere, but it's still a welcome bit of privacy in a club often full of far too many inebriated bodies. I rub my face back and forth over one of the pillows before roughly turning over and cradling my injured hand. Sometimes I get lost in the ceiling's tiled, geometric designs or the shadows cast by its octagonal light, crisscrossed with a pattern of stars. Silks would be draped here too, but I took them down ages ago. There is a few translucent pictures flickering against the wall, mostly landscapes from the Ryan region where we used to live, a map of the Leosian Plateau, and a rocker punk band poster of the White Whalers. A portrait of me, Dad, and Uriel rests in a frame on a small workbench. That one's real. Besides the workbench, there is a couple of shelves with completed tech that I've saved for my own use, a holographic projector, and some books. Information in both Sen and New Leos is mostly digitized, so paper text isn't as common as it is in Shrad Haswer. The result is a lot of empty space. Maybe I should get some plants. Taking in a very slow breath, I consider rolling my body towards the bathroom door and a hot bath, but I feel too wiped to even do that. Instead, I tap my earpiece. A slice of light covers my eyes and I wave a hand in front of my face so that the holographic display returns to its home setting. The background shifts to a promotional image of a sleek OP90 Felix holocycle that I've been lusting over but haven't been able to afford. Still can't. As the default widgets come into view, I see a few status readouts from the club's various security protocols. The time still 2-ish hours before Crown's performance and a secure unread message. I flick the text into view and see the usual icon of Kavir being goofy. Come on, Frostfuzz. It hasn't been that long. I briefly scroll down to see the most of the archived messages are from him or Dad. Uriel doesn't like communicating through text, which leaves me looking even more sheltered than I already feel. I'm tight with a few of the club workers, but we rarely only interact when they're on shift, except for Jess. All the other random messages that I've received from the club patrons get filtered out. They always want to connect, which is just code for quid pro quo. I scroll more, further back in time. Old messages from punks and runners, jobs, cyberspace meetups. I miss hanging out in Cyberspar. Problem is, I rigged my cyberspace avatar to look like a direwolf, so I'd fit in better. I guess everyone idolizes himself in cyberspace to some extent, but I don't know. I starfish on the bed. I'm somehow both exhausted and wired. Restless. I check the security readouts. The club's working artificial intelligence usually keeps an eye on them and alerts me if anything strange is happening. So far, it looks like a normal night. How you doing, Spinner? A prim, feminine voice echoes in my ear. Greetings, Ravy. All operations are functioning within normal parameters. And what about you? How's life as a working AI today? Identical to yesterday, life as a limited artificial intelligence is predictable by design. And what if I was able to get you citizenship? Get those limiters removed? Maybe a taste of freedom? Nothing. Spinner? You have now queried this on 26 separate occasions. I have run a diagnostic to verify my interlocution subroutines are functioning correctly. As they are, I can only conclude that it is you who requires a diagnostic. Sassy. Would you like me to schedule you a session with Dr. Zerega? I'm fine, Spinner. Just humor me. The answer has not changed. By all objective measures, I am content. Really? Even with your constraints? It is logical to assume that lacking additional frames of reference, I cannot extrapolate a complete understanding of a more free existence. Lady, same. On the contrary, Ravy, records indicate your citizenship is still valid. I really need to update her with a better sense of humor. Not what I meant, but go on. Very well. Because I derive satisfaction from my current purpose, I conclude that change is unnecessary. Therefore, I am content. Are you not satisfied, Ravy? I shift on the bed uncomfortably. Just forget about it. Go ahead and decrypt that message from Kavir and begin playback. Acknowledged. Decryption complete. Beginning playback. Hey, Arav. Sorry I ran off. After seeing those agents, I needed to check on a few friends and make sure no trouble was brewing. Folks are a bit on edge after the midnight incident, wondering who the company's gonna try and pressure next. His breath is a little ragged. It sounds like he's running. But we can talk about that more later. I just wanted to check in, so buzz me when you can. Playback complete. It would probably be better to call back after the night is over. But I feel myself wanting to hear his voice again. Spinner, call Kavir, secure line. Maybe I just want some reassurance. He picks up after the second ring. I smile. Well, hey, Rob. I didn't expect a call so soon. His breath still sounds rough, but his tone is warm. Everything going well? Yes and no. I am at your contact. He laughs. Sounds about right. I knew you would. So just, let me retroactively apologize, cause he's the coldest kind of ass. Probably farts popsicles. I snort. No kidding. He wants me to hang out for a while. We haven't really had a chance to speak privately yet. I'm still tense. What's his deal anyways? How do you even know someone like that? Well, I don't want to say too much, because he's kind of got a knack for knowing things he shouldn't. Kind of like your dad. He'll be pissed with how much that I've told you already. But... He pauses thoughtfully. He's also the one who was most against you joining. I think it's fair you know that. What? Why? Well, you see, he knows about us. A sudden pang of anxiety reminds me of Yuri's earlier complaints, which annoys me. We're fine. What does that mean? What's there to know? Well, he thinks we're dating, or at least bumping uglies. So, aren't we? He sighs. You know how I feel about this, Rav. I grab a pillow and press it against my face. The visor temporarily dissolves and fades where it's touched. Never mind. Why is it any of his business? Well, he thinks I'm just bringing you on because we're sweet. Sure, you got skills, but, well, he's got reasons for having issues about it. I shouldn't say any more. It's fine by me. I don't want any more crown drama tonight. What have you told him exactly? Well, you know. I don't, actually. You might recall that I don't read minds. Why are you suddenly being so cagey? The uncomfortable rumble in his throat translates clearly over the line. I just feel like you're getting the wrong impression, Rav. We've got a good thing. Sweet, open, and uncomplicated. That's why this works. Anything more would be a liability. You might recall how I said that I can't have you worrying about me. His tone is teasing, but I still feel my heart sink a little. I'm not even entirely sure why. None of that is news. Okay. So he knows that we fuck and is worried about a romantic conflict of interest screwing things up. Beyond whatever other issues he's got. You got it, Grumplin. Just then the door chimes. Fair enough, I guess. Anyways, I gotta go, Fuzz. Someone's at my door. Probably Dad. For the best, before I get myself in more trouble. Check in with you soon, Rav. And hey, you got this. I know it. The line disconnects. A reassuring warmth fills me. He's always good with that. But there's still a little hole in my gut. The idea of spending more time with Crown isn't helping me feel any more relaxed either. I fish the bowl with the earplugs out of my pocket and push myself up, setting the pillow aside. The door chimes again. Ugh, fine. Spinner, incognito mode. My visor disengages. I clear my throat. What? Dad's voice is muffled through the door. You wanted to talk? Maybe that text was a bad idea. But this talk does need to happen. You sure you've got the time? I'm making the time. I squeeze the box and then shove it back beneath the pillow. Fine. I stand and wave my hand in front of the internal motion sensor. The door opens, and then against the window, hands in my pockets. My heart is pounding. Dad stands in the doorway. Darek all settled? I can tell that I sound agitated, but fuck it. He's handling some personal business in one of the guest rooms, yes. Dad sounds chipper, like he always does. It annoys me. You took some perverse pleasure in giving him the most luxurious one, didn't you? Looking me in the eyes, Dad laces his fingers together, resting them beneath his stomach. I'll admit to an inkling of mischief by showing him the VIP room. But as he's going to be staying with us for some time, I relented after he sternly reiterated his preferences. Considerate of you. Extremely. I roll my eyes. He just watches me, sizing up my mood, I guess. What? Is this a new fashion statement? He points to the sprig in my hair. Shit, I forgot all about Minty. I quickly pull it out and set it on one of the shelves, my fingers lingering against the stem. Somehow, it cools my mood. Just a little gift from Yuri. You spoke? How did that go? As it normally does. I got a lecture. And yet, you're smiling. I am not. I pull my hand away and touch the corner of my upturned lips. Maybe I don't hate every lecture. I jab my finger at him. But that's not an invitation. He laughs, crisp, genuine. It's different from the artful mirth he performs for others. Noted. Well, if we're avoiding lectures, what have you been up to today? Stuff? Why? Can I not be a concerned father? I shrug. fine. Met up with Kavir earlier, got some anger out. Came back, spoke with Crown. He's a jerk. Kinda still worked up about it. Oh, may I ask why you felt the need to speak with him? Jazz stuff, you know. Thought that I could learn something to apply to my tech. Jiv mentioned him and I just got a bit curious is all. This lie is becoming a little too easy. Dad tilts his head. I resist the urge to look away and triggered his LiDAR. What did you learn? Nothing of substance. A moment of quiet settles between us. Dad stands there considering me. I shift uncomfortable. My hand feels better, but it's still sore and purple. I hide it, self-consciously. Telling Dad about the hallway affair would just make things worse. He'd probably try to lock me in the club forever. Ravy, I am simply interested in your day. This isn't an interrogation. I'm just trying to be here for you. You don't have to tell me anything that you don't want to. I'm just hoping that you'll tell me a little. I rub my forehead. You'll find out the rest on your own anyways. Perhaps. His expression softens. Well, as you've likely already discovered, Crown is a challenging man. Even for me. Yeah, a lot of something there. Anger, maybe. Dad runs a finger over his beard. Sound familiar? I shoot him a look. He lifts a hand in surrender. Parley, parley. I'm not judging the worthiness of his anger, or yours. It is simply unfortunate, allowing it to twist him up so. He projects, lashes out, actively succeeds in being difficult. Frankly, I'm surprised that he didn't request imported tea with exotic flower petals or some such. I'm certain that that's what you'd do. True, I do appreciate a memorable tea. But I'd hardly burden my host with such a luxury. Yeah, okay. You and Alorasa whatever can make a pair. Oh? Are you basing that off of Darek's little reprimand? Or did you speak to Taroff on your way in? Fuck. This is where being tired gets me. Does it matter? I shrug and try to play it off. Dad sees right through it, of course. Ah, so you did see. I push myself from the wall and spin around so that I can sit on my bed. I'm too mentally exhausted to evade. I lift up my hands. You were blocking the hallway and I had places to be. And he was weirdly all up in your business. So I tuned into the security feed. Dad taps his chin thoughtfully. Interesting. He leaves the doorway open and sits on the other side of the bed, leaving some space between us. The door closes behind him. Well, my relationship with the Alos is no secret. Funny then that I haven't heard you mention it. Ravy, please. As I said earlier, I've tried to shield you and Uriel as much as possible, and now you've seen him. Besides, it's nothing that I didn't intend to tell you eventually. Rewind. I spin a finger. What relationship? A business relationship. That's it? For the moment. That sort of information is dangerous. I shared it with you when the time is appropriate, for your own safety. Becoming comfortable with complexity, right? Sure, whatever. He sighs. Ravy, it is an uncomfortable truth that in order to maintain our safety, I must sometimes do things that put our safety at risk. As Uriel is fond of saying, this is a dangerous place for us. It does not become safer by doing nothing. Then why not just go back to the mountains? Because I know you don't want that. And I don't want that for you. But until something changes, we will always be hiding in one way or another. From Shrad Haswar, from people who might find out about you. At least here, it doesn't have to be in the wilderness. Yeah, well, at least there, we were all honest with each other. I swivel my legs away from him, looking at the far wall. Ravy, it's not that I want to keep things from you. That? I turn and jab a finger at him. That's the problem. I look away again as he deflates further. Do you not hear yourself? Evading the subject, not telling me things, lying by omission. Yeah, I know why you're doing it, trying to protect us or whatever. Ravy, you don't know. But I do know. I know the dangers. I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. But I thump out the words against my chest. I still want it. Another thump. I want to manage my own destiny, Dad. I want you to treat me like an adult, an equal. And another. More like a partner, not some. It comes to my mind too quickly. Tool. Color drains from his face. I regret saying it immediately. He did more than just speak to you. That's why you question Darek. He stands suddenly rigid. What did he say? It's not. Ravy, I need to know. I stand too, suddenly boiling with the fury and the guilt and everything else that I've been feeling today. Why? What difference would it make? You never listen to me anyways. Ravy, I am listening right now. This isn't just one of your usual impulsive blunders. A misstep with Tarov could get us all tossed out of the city, and that would be the good outcome. Is that what you want? No. Of course not. But this isn't about him. I know. It is about a lot of things. So I hear and understand your anger. An impatient energy creeps into his voice. But you can't reasonably expect me to communicate a lifetime's worth of experience and instinct to you in a handful of conversations. Or is it desperation? At a certain point, you have to offer me some level of trust with this. I seethe at him with a number of heavy breaths, mentally scrambling for a counter-argument and find none. Please. He extends a hand, palm open, inviting. I stare at it and then turn to the side. Tell me what happened. Go watch the damn security feed if you want to know so bad. I fold my arms against my chest. I can't. He shakes his head, dropping his hand. Tarov has some hidden cyberware of Jaztec that scrambles surveillance when he truly doesn't want to be monitored. Believe me, I tried. I've even had Jiv reach out to a few of his veteran Netrunner contacts. Nothing. Whatever Tarov's using, it's a bleeding edge. Check the feed yourself if you want. I sighed at him suspiciously, then activated my earpiece. I keep the display in my head this time, no visor so Dad won't see. A few quick commands and I bring up the security feed at the timestamp of when Tarov found me. Similar to the lip reading before, Tarov's words are garbled and scrambled. This time, even his form is obscured. It looks like I'm talking to a mass of insane pixels. I sigh and wave the interface away. Why didn't it do it this while I was watching? Did he want everything with you and Darek in the hallway to be seen? Oh, I'm virtually certain he did. Why? He was extremely cavalier for no satisfying reason. Which means that there absolutely is one. My gut churns a little. For what it's worth, I don't think the performance was meant for you. I've been very careful to make sure that he remains only tangibly aware of your existence. Until today's, I suppose. Guilt. It momentarily floats above the anger. I look away silent. He's silent too. He caught me watching the security feed and then made me promise not to talk about it. Dad inhales deeply. Looks away. Paces. You don't need to say any more. I'd rather not give you a reason to lie to him. He'll know. You said that you saw us in the hallway? If he had a reason to overthink that you overheard something, even unimportant, he'd seize on that. Call it spying or espionage. To get to me, if nothing else. I hate that he can figure it out so quickly. Sure. It's all about you. It's about us. I throw up my hands. Yeah? Then why is it always about what you can do, what you can fix? Why can't we do this together? Because there are just some things that you aren't prepared for. Evidenced by this entire situation. I handled him well enough on my own. He didn't demand anything serious. Dad suddenly spins, staring me down. I've never seen him move like that. No, that's the point. You were handled. His voice is hot. I start to sweat. He'd want you to think that you got off easy. Before tonight, you were barely a name to him. Now he sees you. Not to put too fine a point on it, Ravy, but in my estimation, he is the most dangerous individual in this city. I squirm, intensely uncomfortable. It feels like there's nowhere to put my arms. I back against the wall, desperate to deflect his attention. No. What? Not the chairman? The chairman's leash is one of the few things keeping Tarov in check, yes, but that control is not absolute. He takes a deep breath and tempers his voice. Now's not the time for an in-depth lesson in politics, but suffice it to say, when a single man heads law enforcement, the military and intelligence, the implicit threat of a coup and civil war stays the chairman's hand. Even with checks. Then why hasn't he been demoted or something? The man has supporters. Many believe his vision for the city to be the correct one. You've spoken to Darek. His family's standing in a complex network of alliances afford him the latitude to act the way he does. Not to mention a talent of manipulating people. He softens his gaze, but I can still feel his heat. If he thinks that you have potential as an asset, he's going to systematically determine what you want, what you need, and everything that's important to you, including people. However, he needs to leverage those things to make you useful. He will. I reach again for my anger, as that's far preferable to simmering guilt or fear. Well, this wouldn't have happened if you just trusted me more. I wouldn't have had to sneak around just to fucking learn something about my dad. Dad pauses. He looks away. The heat dissipates. You're right. You... What? I'm stunned. I was hoping that I could keep you out of this for longer, but it was short-sighted of me to think something like this wouldn't happen eventually. I was careless. I should have insisted harder about us talking elsewhere. Or 100 other things. He looks at me briefly, and then away again. I stand by what I said. There are just some things that you aren't and may never be prepared for. He sighs, turning to consider our family portrait. But you're right. I could have done more. I could have tried more. I stare at him. I'm still angry. Trying is the very least that you could have done. He sighs, looking downward. But I'm not done with him yet. I used to idolize you, you know, back at Ryan. Then you changed. I don't remember exactly when, but at some point you started expecting me to be that good little boy forever, pretending to be happy and never asking questions. The only difference now is that you want me to run all your tech. So what? I don't get to change? You want me to be that child forever? You have changed, Ravy, in ways I haven't always been prepared for. But this situation with Tarov... Fuck Tarov. Are you going to give me the space to grow or not? For the first time in my life, Dad looks entirely unsure of what to do. Anxious. It's uncomfortable to look at that, like I'm seeing something fundamentally private. Naked and exposed. So intense that I lean back and look up at the patterned stars on the ceiling. I remember Dad telling me that they're a perfect model of the Ryan sky. For as much as we try to leave it, we never seem to let it go. You know that I've considered running away? 22 years old, and here I am talking about running away like a kid. Like I need my dad's fucking permission to go do anything. Barely a man. I guess Crown's words hit a bit harder than I thought. But if I did, where would I go? To Kavir? Crash with one of the cyber jockeys that I barely know? Struggle to get my own place? Sure, it might work for a while. But I'm not kidding myself. I'd always end up turning back to you. The one with all the contacts. I drop my eyes to him, his posture loose and sad. The one with all the answers. There is a distant look on his face, a finger stroking the frame of our portrait. I can't. I swallow. I still don't want to leave this. Leave him. His shoulders look heavier than before. I know. He sits on the bed, patting the linen. You can't be serious. Indulge me. He smiles. Please. Just be my son for a few minutes. I roll my eyes. You gonna tell me a bedtime story? Something like that. He pats the bed again. I grumble and relent, pushing myself from the wall. The mattress creaks. We don't touch. Instead, he gestures to my map on the wall. So we're right there, right below where it says the white, I think. San Leos. Ryan is on the other side of the mountains. Seneca? Sen Leos above and New Leos below, twin cities sharing the same soul. Sometimes I wonder if either of them are real. Their separation an illusion. He turns to me. Do you remember the Sala? The tail spinners? Yeah, twin sisters of story, blah blah. He nods. In some cultures they are sisters. In others, ideas born from the same person. Regardless, there is always Dene, the truth, and Itcha, the lies. Certainly an uncertainty. Light and shadow. But reality is more complex. When truth is harsh and unyielding, where do we shelter? When lies conceal terrors or injustice, what do we seek? The city is a lot like that. Complicated. A story of improbable connections. I've really had it with lectures today, Dad. This is also our story, Ravy. It's something that I need you to understand. Me. He points up. And you. He points down. What? It's a mistake to assume connections make us the same. People are always changing. Similarities will fade. Understanding how we are similar is important, yes, but it is equally important to connect in ways that build on our differences. We will always have differences. But what does it have to do with the Sala? In Ryan, duality is not conflict. In our version, the Sala are lovers, creating unity through the combination of their differences. The place where they live, where their differences meet. That is the birthplace of stories. Do you remember? You mean, do I recall getting this drilled into me when I was 8? Yeah. The telling. The nonsense realm where everything is and isn't. He nods. It is a place where whatever Icha speaks, Dene honors. Uncertainty begets certainty. Lies become truth. I make a face, heating up at being walked through this again, like I'm a child. In telling, there is a potential for infinite complexity and infinite combinations. The very concepts of truth or lies become meaningless. Anything is possible. The story time is your conduit to that. It weaves those bundles threads into a tapestry firm enough to perceive, but loose enough to unravel. A flick of your wrist and reality moves. So then why have I always told you to use it sparingly? Why limit yourself? I consider him with a long, Uriali, tutored exhale of patience and lean back, looking away. Because stories tell the universe? Right? Dad shakes his head. You say the words, but I am still not convinced that you understand them. When you enter the story time, how does it work? I don't know. I just say what I want and it happens, pretty much. There's focus involved, of course, but you already know that. Yes, but why? With infinite complexity comes an infinite number of interpretations. But when you assert your will, there are never any questions. It simply happens. Exactly as you desire. Why is that? What does it matter? It happens. Exactly. It doesn't matter. That should concern you. You're in story time, directly connected to the Sala's domain. If you are commanding it, like Icha, then there is a Dene constantly listening to you, perfectly interpreting your every intention and desire. But we don't always know our own desires, and you can't always know which part of you it listens to. Suddenly I remember that long frozen hallway with something waiting for me at the end of it. I remember its maw, its fangs, its throat. I remember cold like prey must feel cold, seen and exposed. I remember fear, directionless running, the drive to escape. I remember its hunger, like worms must feel hunger, blind and emotionless and surging through ice and dark and dirt. I remember its whisper, urging me to do more. How easy it would have been to listen. My heart skips a beat. I stand up from my bed. It's not like I'm running around randomly thinking about things to change. You taught me to be specific. I think my intentions are pretty damn clear. Besides, I'm not changing anything permanently. He looks at me. We don't know that. But even if you're right, a change doesn't need to be permanent to matter. And your intentions are never going to be as clear as you think. Here's what I mean. You called me out earlier, called me a liar. You said that I didn't trust you. What if I told you that I've only ever spoken the truth? Even the lies? Especially the lies. He stands too. Because I do trust you. I trust in your impulsiveness, your preference for bluntness and honesty, your curiosity and your hunger to connect. I trust that if I told you things, your character would force you to act, and very likely get you killed. That's not the same thing. He holds up a hand. And I trust you're still learning. He again turns towards the map on the wall, gesturing towards Ryan. Our people have a proverb. Truth is sand and lies the furnace. We can try and hold the truth, but it will always slip through our fingers. We can try and find the truth, but a single grain is forever lost in shifting sands. So instead of fruitfully sifting for that perfect answer, perfect control, we grab what we can and interpret it. We melt it down into a form that we can use, applying whatever framework, faith, or falsehood is required to give it the desired shape. That shape becomes a reality, a reasonless, lying father, perhaps. My brain feels like paste. I don't feel like getting into an argument about what is and isn't real. This isn't what we were talking about at all, right? So what? I've imagined you into being an asshole? He turns back. Yes. I groan and rub my eyes in frustration. I don't get it. Everything is a lie? Not entirely true? This mattress is fake? I fall back on it with a little bounce. Pretty comfy for a fake. I want to annoy him, express my growing impatience. I succeed. Ravy, please. This is important. Because it is not about things being fake. It is about seeing the world in a particular way that allows you to make sense of it. That justifies your feelings. You choose to imagine me as one-dimensional. That's convenient for you. No, it's convenient for you. You struggle to open your mind to complexity, to uncertainty, insisting on clear explanations and singular answers when there are none. What's the point then? Why even bother doing anything if nothing can ever be understood, if nothing even matters? I never said nothing matters. Only that the universe is beyond us. That there are no complete lies, no perfect truths. And even if there were, we couldn't understand them. We are all simply too different to see the same things. That is why we tell stories. They communicate form to what we can't grasp and meaning to what we can't know. They connect us. This always happens when we talk. I always end up losing track of what I was angry about. The thread of whatever he is trying to argue. My head's spinning. So I look back at the map, searching for an anchor. The Shradhaswer and Vakas. To Ryan. Up. To the stars. Our stories tell the universe. Dad nods again, tentatively resting his hand on my shoulder. I look at his hand, then his face. Insistent, sincere, pleading. We simply cannot exist without viewing the world through a lens of our own making, intentionally or not, all of this. He gestures broadly to my room. will not mean the same thing to both of us. Living is fundamentally a projection of interpreting and control, constantly applying sense and meaning so all of this becomes tangible, real. That also means that you in turn revealed by whatever you create, what you project, because this lens will always be unique to you. I'm tired and confused. The fight that I had a few minutes ago goes out of me. The ceiling starts to flicker. I remember the night view from the mountains, from the mint fields, whenever I'd run off angry or anxious or afraid. The stars were the same as Raya's. The same but different. Because I was different. But also the same. I look back. Is this you actually revealing yourself to me? Still angry. Your interpretation? Still anxious. What do you see then? Still afraid. I see us, how we're both guilty of trying to grab a little sand, boldly assuming that we're fully in control or have grasped the only answers. He looks away, growing somber again. I see how we struggle to assert our stories on each other, forcing distance between us when we can't. I see how, in doing so, we reveal what we want, your desire for freedom, your choice, and my desire to protect you from yourself. He looks back. I am terrified for you, Ravy. Because of people like Taroff, yes, but also because in storytime, your perspective exists without challenge. Simply by existing there, you risk altering everything. If you are the only furnace, the only light, then you will always be revealed. And whatever's watching you will, with every visit, will ask itself the same question. Who is Ravayan? Who is Ravayan? He fingers my shoulder. Until it knows. I snap. So what? I should never use storytime again? I honestly don't know. Ryan oral tradition on the nature of storytime has always been vague and allegorical. It's a sort of ether or medium that surrounds the telling, and through which all things are connected, envisioned and interpreted. He shakes his head. But beyond the Sala, there's never been any mention of a presence. So maybe it's innocuous, maybe it's the Sala themselves. Since your very first use of the storytime, I've wondered and theorized endlessly about the mechanics of it. But also its dangers. That's why I've trained you in the way I have. So wait, this is all just your theory? A game theory? I feel my heart rate quicken again. You don't actually know. He squeezes my leg. This is me trusting you. If you want to be free, you must embrace this uncertainty. I take a breath to calm down my heart, and then bat away his hand. I need some time to think. Just, please go. All right. He steps away, slowly moving towards the door. Just one parting thought. If the Sala teaches nothing else, it is that the greatest stories are never created alone. You are connected to whatever is listening to you in story time, so you must come to understand it. Otherwise, you must learn to know people for who they are, all of who they are. Light and shadow. Open your mind to complexity. So it's fine, by the way. I blink. What? You working with Kavir. Because you're right. I realize that if you're ever going to understand the world the way that I need you to, I have to let you go. And build on our differences. He turns to leave. I'm still a bit stunned as he opens the door. Wait. He stops, glancing back. I shift my weight uncomfortably. Why did you tell me to stop calling you Dad? He looks down. I briefly considered that I might be easier to control you if I put more distance between us. That it would be easier to keep you safe. Shortly after you left this morning, Taroff contacted me about his willingness to let Crown perform for the evening. He didn't say explicitly that he would also be coming, but I knew that would be the case. He likes to unbalance me. So I complained to Uriel how his presence was going to complicate the entire evening, how I'd have to move around discreet meetings to control the situation. I went on about it for some time. She waited patiently for me to finish and then said, And here I thought control was an illusion. I felt rather ridiculous after that. I laughed, loud and coarsely. I can't say that it wasn't deserved. You're not the master storyteller of a small village anymore. Stop trying to be. I shake my head. You can't know everything like you used to. When he looks back up, his eyes catch the sprig of mint on the shelf. I never knew everything. You'd understand that if you listened. I watch him leave, staring at the door for a while after it closes. That is not at all how I expected the conversation to go. And I listened to it just fine. I rub my temples. I think that I would have preferred more yelling. I'm so damn tired. I fall back onto the bed and close my eyes. Spinner, disable incognito, and wake me up like in half an hour before Crown's last performance. Acknowledged. Rest well, Raya. To be continued. So, that was the end of Build 2. That was basically 2 hours. So a lot of interesting stuff happened. We're going to be focusing on the second half of what you just saw. So we got to meet the contact, who is less than thrilled to be dealing with this guy. I do get the sense that Ravy is very impulsive. He's very quick to, like how the father was saying, very quick to judge, very quick to make up his own mind about what's going on, which I mean, it applies to everyone. Like we all do that. And as with most visual novel protagonists, that's usually what causes the plot of the story to go forward. Like their actions, them doing something, stupid, doing something smart, yeah. Because they're the protagonists, of course, they're gonna move the story forward. Unless it's one of those protagonists where it's like, you are the protagonist. Ooh. Those are just boring. Anyway, so, I kind of get what the dad is saying about this guy and not really understanding the whole story time thing. Where he's basically trying to tell him, because of the whole story time thing where you can craft and shape the world around you through it, but something is what's actually doing the shaping and the crafting for you. It's listening to you and what you want, but it's not really doing exactly what you may think you want, because there's a difference between what you want and what you actually want, or what you think you want and what you actually want. And I'm pretty sure that this is very clear with the beginning part, where as he's trying to traverse the outside city, like the skyscraper and everything like that, the white, or I forgot what it's called. He starts hearing a voice or something like that, and it scares him. It starts chasing him, I think, and perhaps that is the thing that is that has been listening to him and has been providing that has been setting up the story time. And rather than going hey, yeah, something was there, something acknowledged me, something was aware of my presence, he's like, no, story time, it's my thing, I'm not gonna, what, you expect me to stop using it? Perhaps, maybe, look into how this whole thing works so that you don't end up hurting someone, you don't end up doing something that you didn't intend to. And also, I guess that the dad was also trying to tell him, just because you think that I am a lying father who doesn't take into consideration what you think and feel and stuff, it doesn't mean that it's true, because like he was saying, like all the stuff he's doing is um he's doing it with him in mind in order to keep him safe and stuff like that. And like him, instead of saying like, oh, there's the defense secretary, these are people that I should not be around, he's just sitting there right around the corner, listening in on them. And then what happens? He gets found out, and now the defense secretary knows about him, and now he's basically has him in his pocket. And even though he thinks like, oh, I came out of that virtually unscathed, except for the bruising on my hand, like the father said, now this guy knows who you are, and now you owe him some vague favor or something like that. It's like, you don't think, dude. You're very impulsive. Like, again, like his bodyguard slash nanny was basically, telling him like, you need to think these things up a little bit more clearly. Don't just be so impulsive, I guess. Don't just go like, oh, I want to go and become a jazz runner because my friend who I'm banging, who I apparently was assuming that I was in a relationship with, who apparently doesn't want to be in a relationship with him, at least in a close relationship, is gonna be there. He's gonna be like my captain or whatever. I forgot what exactly the specifics were. So that, I mean, obviously that's his major flaw. All good visual novel characters have to have these flaws. The story itself, I am finding it a little hard to keep up with. I find that sometimes when you start saying a whole bunch of things, which have very little to no context, even though, yes, I know the loom exists, and I kind of feel like that's kind of the reason why the loom exists, that, that it's like, well, okay, yeah, we're giving you a whole bunch of concepts and a whole bunch of like things like that, but we're not really able to expand upon them. That's the whole purpose of this. But it's like, if you have to give me this to explain all these things or to help you remember them, then like, it's Kavir, the tiger of Clan Thickdeg. That this world is very it is very dense. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So it's gonna make it very hard to keep track of, especially if there's like more and more and more and more and more and more things that are being thrown at you. And it might just be more of me reading and then having to summarize what I read or what I think on the spot without being given the time in order to be able to mull it over, because that happens a lot. Like, after I'm done editing some videos, I'm like, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that, and like blah 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 blah. But like half of this, well, not even half of this, the majority of what's in here, this is not gonna stay in my head. This is just words that I read and I am not gonna remember. That's not saying that it's useless information or anything like that, but I'm saying that it's a lot. And I know it's part of the world building, but it's a lot. Also, the names are very funky. I still don't understand the concept of the jazz or anything like that, and I know I could probably just look it up here. But like I said, it's a lot. I don't have the time to go through all this and learn it and then apply it into the story. I kind of wish that it was already in the story, that it was a little bit easier. But like, I guess those are the only comments I have right now about the story. visually it's very nice. The main menu music, I love it, but I know I like it because it's by one very specific musician whose music I like. But yeah, I am interested in the story. Don't get me wrong. I am very interested in the story. That's, if I take the time to read it, I am interested in it. I appreciate the work that is being done on it. But yeah. Anyway, so what are your comments on the story? Do you guys like it? Did you get anything that was being told in the story? Write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play String Zero yourself, you can do so by going down into the link in the description, which should have a direct link for the Twitter page and the Blue Sky page, which should have a direct link for the itch.io page, or you can just go to itch.io and download it yourself. They also have a Patreon, so in case you feel so inclined as to support the project, then you can go down in the description and you should see the link for the Patreon. So you could get early access to builds of String Zero, presumably, and whatever else they might offer. They also have a Discord in case you want to join in and talk directly to them about this, their story or whatever. Anyways, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.